Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Think of all that time. Every wait in the winter. All those hours no one else. Think of all that time. Think of every sacrifice in the summer. Every wait in the mornings on the levee. Late nights in the film room. Bus rides to playoff games. Every bump in the road. Every moment of ecstasy. Every moment of doubt. Years wondering. Is it all worth it? It's all led to this. Man, I got this money. It's a 60-minute drive for a 60-minute game. After all the miles we've traveled, we're almost there. After all the hours we've worked, one more can make us legends. After all that time, this is our time.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Good knowing exactly where to go with the football.
There we go. All right. What's up, everyone? Welcome into Inside the Hoosier Mind, brought to you in part by Military Broadcast Radio, helping give veterans a voice, helping teach veterans how to podcast, and most importantly, letting veterans' voices be heard. Having a little bit of technical difficulties. My internet sucks. I'm going to be the first to formally admit that with no issues. But we are back to discuss a little bit about the NBA playoffs and whatnot. We've had a little bit of shockers with LeBron and Luka Doncic both getting the boot with the Lakers, as Karl Anthony Towns kind of symbolizes it's his NBA now. The Pacers, of course, get an upset over the Cavs and whatnot. But believe it or not, the NBA is not my strongest suit when it comes to talking about it. So I luckily have a partner in crime that's going to be joining me on the show today. This will be first time in a long time he's been on this show. Gentleman by the name Jay. He is actually president and owner of the All Sports All Plays Network, which I was a part of for a really long time. Still work with pretty closely with Jay. He was actually on last week. He kind of came on last second because we had a little bit of a ASAP reunion with our show with Mike and whatnot. But we'll go ahead and bring him in because Jay is actually, poor Jay is a Suns fan, and his Suns had a rough season this season and whatnot. So we will bring him in and we'll talk some NBA. We'll talk some NFL draft and whatnot.
The interview of the week is brought to you by Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
What up, Jay? How are you, good sir?
What's going on, Tony? How you doing, man?
Good. How are you? Wait a minute. I hear I hype you up as a Suns fan. You got a Bulls hat on. What did you change allegiances?
I did not. I just had to show a little bit of love to Mike,
Oh, okay. I say you're gonna make Mike so happy. Although Mike has kind of questioned his Bulls fandom here lately.
He has, hey, but I'm hoping for both of our sake. Next year we can wear these hats and have playoff teams.
Hopefully. Like I say, before we get too deep into the NBA playoffs and whatnot so far, because they've been pretty interesting. I mean, we've only really had one series kind of cut it close with the Warriors and the Rockets and whatnot. Obviously, that just took place a couple nights ago. Honestly, it looked like Steph Curry was shut down pretty effectively, but for whatever reason, the Rockets could not get it together. And Steph and the Warriors and whatnot show that they're still able to do it. What was kind of your thoughts initially though about the Suns not making it? Because I mean, realistically, on paper, they got all the talent. You got KD, you got Devin Booker, you've got Bradley Beal. Like you got 3 all-stars. Like that's, but I think what a lot of people, a lot of NBA fans, and myself included, because again, I don't really watch the NBA. I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, y'all probably don't have much depth left on that roster, which to me, I feel like is probably what hurts y'all more than anything. Yeah, you can have 3 stars, but it's hard to keep all of them out there for that long for like 82 games a season.
Well, it's one of those personnel things.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't necessarily depth. It wasn't necessarily that we didn't have other players, because we had Grayson Allen, we had Royce O'Neal, you have Tyus Jones, Ryan Dunn, which was one of the breakout rookies of this year. You had also Ichiro, another breakout dude, big man. We went and got a Nichols for Nurkic. So it wasn't necessarily depth or anything like that. What it was it's like this. You go in the kitchen, you go in the cupboard, and you grab flour, you grab sugar, you grab hot sauce, you grab all these ingredients and throw it in a bucket. It's going to taste like shit because you don't have the right personnel.
I thought you were making like a marinade. I was like, okay, sugar, a little bit of sweetness, hot sauce, flour. Okay, you doing like some type of breading? Like, okay. I mean, you can make it work.
Depends on what you try to go after, right? And I think that was more of it. It was the wrong ingredients in the pot together for what we were trying to do. And see, and if you look at the 2 years, I'm gonna put it in the last 2-year window. Fuck it, we'll go 3. You went from Frank Vogel, who just came out of winning an NBA championship, defensive minded, wasn't doing much on the offensive end. They were upset about that. We get rid of him. We come in. I forgot who was our one last year. We had
I say it was another big name. It wasn't
fuck. Why can't I get his name off the top of my head? Oh, I'm gonna have to look it up.
I say,
damn it.
Phoenix Suns coaches. Monty Williams?
Monty was before Frank. I thought we had one more after Frank before Mike Bullhauser. But the point is, then you bring in Mike, who, if you ask me, before we signed him, I'm like, why are we bringing in Mike? We get rid of Frank, who's a defensive-minded coach, and the reason why we get rid of Frank is because we weren't utilizing Kevin Durant to his full potential in the offense. We bring in Budhauser, and let's be honest, with Giannis, he didn't fucking have to do much on the offense end. Excuse my French. He let them go out there, and then you had Drew Holiday, who's an on the floor coach. So you got Drew and you got Giannis on the offensive end. So you're not doing much coaching. The only thing you're doing is making defensive adjustments.
Right.
So you bring him in, and again, you're stuck in the same situation.
So you had Monty, you had Frank, and then you had Mike Budenholzer.
So you had Monty, Frank, and then Mike?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So Monty, Frank, and Mike. So yeah. And out of those 3, Monty would have probably been the best for offensively.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And he'd been there
my
for a while too.
and I think a lot of that was just Ishbia coming in and saying, "I want out with the old, in with the new."
Right. Right. Well, that's kind of the crazy part too, because you look at it, and again, I'm looking at it from kind of an outside perspective, and I would say this for really any sport, not even just basketball. Like Monty was there from 2019 to 2023. Like you gave him enough time, like, okay, I can build a culture, I can pick the guys that I want, I can get guys in the locker room that I feel can be bought into the system, and he can actually build something while he's there. To me, when I heard about the Frank Vogel hire, I was like, okay, you got to think about where Frank really got like his money from. Like
Right.
You got LeBron when it was still, LeBron was still kind of at, I'm not going to say the peak of his career, but kind of towards the end of his prime. Like he still had a lot in him. You get AD on top of it, which was a huge blockbuster deal, and then you have just enough other pieces there on that Lakers roster to be able to make it work. Plus, the whole COVID thing, which is, obviously a lot of people put the asterisk on it because they got the break and then they came back, but they came back just as hot as they did when they left. So, he kind of gets that. He gets his championship. And then after that, everything goes to crap for the Lakers because eventually, like every team that it happens to, when you go all in, eventually it's going to come, you're going to have to pay dues of now you don't have the depth that you have. You don't have the draft picks. You don't have the salary cap. You're not able to maneuver stuff like you did. You got your ring, which is what you wanted, which is the goal. But now it's come up and so as far as what you have to owe. So to me, it was like, I get it. He's a championship winning head coach. He knows how to do it. It's also one of those, it's kind of like Mike McCarthy with the whole Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay situation. It's hard for you to not be successful when you have a quarterback of that talent in your prime. Look at Bill Belichick with Tom Brady. Bill hasn't been the same coach. He wasn't that type of coach, pre Tom Brady. He hasn't been that coach post Tom Brady. So I mean that one player, and for Frank's instance, it's LeBron. He comes to Arizona. I'm not saying KD can't be that guy, but to me, KD is one of those. You look at how he won his championship with the Warriors. Like the Warriors already had their system set and locked in. And I think even for KD, and I think for a lot of these players, it's hard for you to build that roster of, okay, this guy is talented. And like you said, it's a personnel matchup. You can put, like you said, for the kitchen, you can put flour, you can put hot sauce, you can put all this stuff. And on paper, it's like, okay, this should work until you do it. And it's like, wait a minute, I don't care how this guy works. I don't like how this guy works. Yeah. This guy doesn't do stuff the way that I'd want him to. And again, when you have three superstar caliber guys, let's be realistic. You separate all three of those guys, all three of them are probably going to be the ones on a roster somewhere. Like to me.
You see, you're hitting all the nails in the coffin. The thing that I think that we missed the boat on as the Suns with the roster was when you look at the like championship teams, or even right now, currently in the playoffs, you look at the Nuggets. The Nuggets have a superb superstar in Jokic.
Yep.
But they have a very, very good floor general in Jamal Murray.
Yep.
You look at LA when they won. You had that super low post presence on both sides of the ball with Anthony Davis. But again, you had a floor general with a great ball handling mind in LeBron James.
Right.
What the Suns' issue is our superstars that we picked up had all very similar styles of play.
Right.
So who's the leader in that case?
Yeah.
See, if you look at,
sorry, I was saying, and it can't be a leadership by like committee thing too, because again, that's where it gets weird. Because okay, who do we follow if someone tells me to do something? Like if
that LeBron's and Kyrie's issue in Cleveland?
Yeah.
Who's supposed to take the last shot? Who's supposed to? And that ended up dividing them. Yep. Imagine how many freaking NBA championships they could have won.
Yeah, 100%. Think about how differently the whole entire future and makeup of Cleveland would have been had they been able to get along a lot better.
I mean, you look at Boston. Boston was at a pivotal pivotal point about 4 or 5 years ago with the whole
Mhm.
Jaylen Brown and Tatum thing, and
Yep.
it got silenced because they accepted Tatum as the number one.
Yep. Yeah, even
So,
though it's funny, when they won their championship last year, you could honestly argue Jaylen Brown was more the leader than Jason Tatum was.
but they were able to. So, like New York right now.
Mm-hmm.
New York right now is a very good example of how to utilize stars.
Yeah.
They went out and got Carl Anthony on a
Mhm.
team that was pretty well rounded.
Mm-hmm.
So now they say, all right, Jaylen, you're probably one of the best closers in the game.
Mm-hmm.
We want you to do that.
Yeah.
Don't worry about everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Let OG, let Miles, let Carl, let these other guys, Josh Hart, let these other guys eat.
Mm-hmm.
Have a couple points here and there, stay in the game, keep your rhythm going. When it's fourth quarter, you get the ball.
Right.
And that's a way to see. We had to figure out, and there was no coaching on offense. There was
Mhm.
no coaching on offense these last 2 years that I see.
Right.
You know, it should have been, hey, Booker, carry us, score 30 points through 3 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Durant, close, score 20 points in the fourth.
Yeah.
There we go.
Right.
Now Bradley Beal's not an issue.
Right. No, I definitely get it. We are going to take a real quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll actually dive deeper into the NBA playoffs as Jay was talking about. We'll dive in, see what Jay's thoughts is as far as the most interesting ones. We've had a little bit of upsets and surprises so far within the first round of the semifinals as we move on to the conference finals and whatnot. But we'll take a quick commercial break, and when we come back.
Tune in to Clado's Cacophony of Sound every Saturday night from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern on Military Broadcast Radio at mbradio.us or on Twitch at DJ_Clado. MBR, giving veterans a voice.
She ain't mine, but she looks fine. Gonna take some time, gonna make her mine, gonna make her mine.
All right, we are back to Military Broadcast Radio and Inside the Hoosier Mind, brought to you in part by MBR, helping give veterans a voice. Back with Jay to talk a little bit about the NBA playoffs and whatnot. So, Jay, like I said, we had a little bit of some upsets and whatnot. Obviously, the Grizzlies got absolutely swept by the Thunder, surprisingly enough. The Nuggets and the Clippers actually went down to a pretty interesting series. Nuggets end up pulling away with a win on that one. The Timberwolves and Ant-Man absolutely dominate LeBron and Luka, which is probably the most surprising thing, is that they not only won, they dominated in their wins against them. And obviously the Rockets and Warriors came down to a 4-3 stretch. The Warriors kind of proving that playoff experience is still helping them. But even the last couple days, we've had a lot of upsets. You know, the Nuggets end up actually getting a win over the Thunder in OKC. The Pacers end up stealing a win against the Cavaliers, and the Knicks, probably the biggest surprise, get a win over the Boston Celtics. And then tonight we have the Timberwolves and the Warriors playing, as well as the Cavaliers and Pacers will play game 2. So we get the first game of that Timberwolves and Warriors series. Jay, what's probably been the biggest surprise to you so far out of this?
Are you talking about just the Timberwolves Warriors situation?
No, the whole thing. If it can be either one.
You know, even though the Clippers lost, the Clippers played extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
Extremely well, to the point that Denver is battle tested after that first round.
Mm-hmm.
I think out of all of them, they're probably the most battle tested. I think Golden State being a 7 is crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, it's even crazier the fact that the two, at least in the West, you've got the 1 seed and the 4 seed and the Thunder and Nuggets playing, which it's like, okay, that's a little bit to be expected. The fact that on the other end you have the 6th and the 7th seed playing each other in the next one, the 2nd and the 3rd seed are both eliminated, it is also kind of crazy to me, because it's like, wait a minute, the 2 lower seeds in the West are doing better than the 2 higher, 2 of the higher seeds.
Well, I was talking about this all year, and this is why I wasn't surprised the Suns didn't make the playoffs. the West was separated by like 2 games the whole final
Yeah.
stretch.
Yeah.
The whole final stretch.
Yeah.
And let's look at if you look at the 1 through 8
Mm-hmm.
and you say, well, what changed at the end? The Lakers got Luka. They moved
Yep.
up to third. Is that a true third place? I don't think so.
Right.
You just now because you got to think of it 2 different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they got to become familiar with each other, but we're talking about Luka Doncic and we're talking about LeBron James.
Right.
Great, they're going to figure it out pretty quick, even if they're not used to each other. But on the other end, to play defense on Luka and LeBron, it's going to take you a lot longer to figure that out than it is for
Mhm.
them to figure out how to score.
Right.
So you're going to win a couple of extra games there that you may have not won if there was already tape and familiarity on the defender's end. So I don't believe that as a true third place team. I
Yeah.
think they should be like 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense.
Right.
The Warriors fell off.
Mhm.
That 3 weeks before they made that Jimmy Butler trade
Mm-hmm.
was rough for them.
Yeah.
Rough. And then the Jimmy Butler came and they had a decent ending, which kept them in there. But so I don't know, man. I think it's going to backfire for the teams like the Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
And we're already seeing that it backfired for the Lakers.
Yeah. Say for you, and I mean, I know it's been a topic for probably years now, ever since honestly, probably ever since they won that last championship. Do you think after this season, depending on if the Warriors can make, I'm not going to say a deeper playoff run, but at least keep this series close with the Timberwolves, say they take it to a game 7, or say, it's like they start down 2, but then they fight back 2, and then maybe they end up losing it, 4-2. If they keep it close, do you think that will officially mark the end of the dynasty? Because I mean, they already got rid of Clay. Clay's gone. You still got Steph, and you still got Draymond. Draymond's had issues for forever, but it seems like it's really been highlighted the last 3 years or so. And then, Jimmy Butler, the whole drama with that, he's getting older. He can still perform really well, but he's getting older. And at what point does Jimmy say, okay, now I won on a Golden State? Do you think that dynasty in the Warriors' time is starting to come to an end?
No. I think they extended their window an extra 2 to 3 years by picking up Jimmy Butler. I think that Clay's on the downhill.
Yeah.
And Jimmy is still kind of right here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's hit his decline yet, and that has a lot to do with playoff Jimmy and his heart.
Right.
Anytime that you can still up your performance this many levels,
Mm-hmm.
just because it's playoff time,
Right,
bro. So now, the thing about Golden State, and this is something that a lot of these other teams got to look at. Golden State drafts really fucking well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really freaking well, bro. Really
Yeah.
well. So they didn't picked up the big man. They didn't picked up oh boy Nick. What's his name? The shooter. I forget his name. What's his name?
So I'm trying to pull it up. My internet just hates me.
I gotta pull it up too. But Pulowski, he's really good.
I say,
Yeah,
of
let me
course,
get
about
over
the
here.
time I pull it up on my my
It comes
phone,
up.
yeah, it'll come up on my computer.
So Brandon Podziemski, he's
Yep.
really good. You still got Moses Moody. Trace Jackson Davis, he's really good.
If I say I remember watching him at IU, not last year, but year before last. He was solid for IU. He helped keep them in contention for a long time.
A long time, and then you picked up Buddy Hill. You still got Kuminga. So you got guys that, because the thing about Steph, unlike LeBron, unlike some of the other guys, Kevin, Steph is a shooter.
Yeah.
Steph doesn't need to drive to the hole if you don't want to.
Yeah.
Steph doesn't, and he can dribble really well. So Steph could still play for another 5 years
Right.
if you really want to put it down. And then with guys like Kuminga
Mhm.
and Moody and Jackson Davis, these youngsters, Buddy Hield's still there. So their window can kind of linger.
Yeah.
For another 3 solid years if you keep Jimmy there.
Mhm.
And Draymond's a question mark.
Yeah. I say I feel like out of the big 3 that are there, I feel like Draymond's the next to go. Like, to me, I feel like because Steph has been there for so long, because Steph has been there with them through the good times, through the bad, through all of it. To me, it's kind of Steph's decision when he wants to leave.
He
I
ain't
feel like,
leaving.
and I don't see Steph leaving for anything. I mean, you look at it. Steph's got 4 rings. He's tied with LeBron. He's a part of one of the greatest dynasties we've seen as far as the NBA goes. He's beaten LeBron multiple times head to head, so he's got that over him. When it comes to like championships and when it matters most. So really for Steph, not a whole lot more you have to do for your legacy or your career as far as cementing that you're one of the best players, you're one of the best warriors. And like you said, when it comes to perimeter shooting, if you need a 3 shot at the last part of the game to potentially win it, Steph 9 times out of 10 going to be the man to go do it.
The only thing that I could see is if Steph wanted to beat him in longevity.
Oh, okay. In all honesty, I
Because
mean, he could still do that with Golden State.
yeah, no, because bro, Steph is not LeBron. He's not Kobe. He's not Jordan. He's not Shaq. None of the. He's not going to have the wear and tear on his knees,
Right.
his back, and his as these other guys that we just talked about. I mean, you think about Vince Carter. Vince Carter had he went through a time period of some decent size or some real injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
I appreciate
Staticon, huh?
I appreciate that, MJ. Yeah, MJ.
Statistician.
Yeah, MJ knows me because I typically pull all the stats out whenever it comes to like the NFL and my takes and whatnot. I appreciate that. MJ is actually a huge Penn State fan, so usually she comments saying the whole "we are," but I appreciate MJ tuning in.
Hey, real quick, MJ, was Abdul Carter justified for asking for those 2 retired numbers?
I know he asked for Lawrence Taylor's 56, which I'm going to be honest. Don't know if you were able to ask LT for the number. Phil Sims, I'm like, okay, you could maybe ask Phil. Now, and in his defense, Phil did say yes. Phil's family outvoted him and said no.
In the defense of asking for Phil's, so you think he was justified? Okay. Yep. In the defense of asking for Phil's, not many people know who Phil is, and I feel bad for Phil because he's a legend.
Well, and it's really bad. I think it hurts too because he's no longer like the color commentator where Tony Romo is, because that was him and Jim Nantz forever. And then I remember he got in some trouble. He said something, I can't remember what he said, that kind of got him in trouble with CBS, and so they were like, time for you to move in studio, buddy. Here's Tony Romo. And she does have a point. If you don't ask, you never know. I was always raised a closed mouth doesn't get fed. I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask just to see.
I just say the Lawrence Taylor one was a little.
Yeah, like I said, LT. I don't know about LT. You can't be asking one of the greatest of all time when it comes to not just Giants but NFL history. Be like, hey brother, can you unretire
Come up off that number
for me?
Come up off that number.
Like, look, man, if you're 4 years in, if you're in your first part of the contract and you just absolutely dominate, like you're sack leader 4 years in a row, then you can go up to LT and be like, hey man, I'm producing.
What he should have done was paid homage and took 65.
Right. I don't know if I've ever seen a linebacker wear 65, to be honest with you.
But hey, I mean, because that's what you're saying. You're saying that you're about to be so
So
great.
Yeah, so good.
Not good. Not
Yeah.
good. Because you
Great.
asked LT to retire. You're about to be so great that this number is going to be iconic again. That's what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah. Here's the other thing I would say too, because I remember this comment has been brought up whenever I've seen a lot of people when they talk about um, when you do like numbers 1 through 100 as far as like any sports goes, like who do you think of when you see this number? Like whenever you see the number 1, like who do you think of? Is it, Warren Moon? If you see number 2, do you think of, Matt Ryan, 3 Russ, 4 Brett Favre, all if you think of number 6, do you think LeBron James, or like he wears 23? Well, the most famous 23 most people are probably going to know is Michael Jordan, like depending on like, so to me, if I'm Abdul, make it like, I get it. 11 was your number in college. Yeah, maybe you want to pay homage to LT. Maybe you wear 65. Like, find your own number and become you. Like, you got to think about it. Like, when LT got 56, it was like, okay, this is my number. Like, I'm just going to do what I got to do with it. Like make yourself, like, make your own name. Don't try to piggyback off of somebody else's success. Like, because if you wear 56 and then you're a bust, one, that's disrespectful to LT, because it's like, all right, you kind of ruined LT's legacy of what he did to build that number up. And again, two, unless you truly believe in yourself that much, which I'm not going to, I'm not going to shame on you if you do, but you got to look at a lot of the guys nowadays. How many times are we seeing records broken from guys that, played for years or played for a long time now? Like Tom Brady did it, Drew Brees did it, Peyton Manning did it, but you look at how long they did it. You look at the positions that they played when they did it. Like they played for, 20 plus years. They're very well protected. How many defensive guys are we seeing break, statistics and stats records and whatnot? Not a whole lot.
We're seeing them, just not in the same frequent, like not as frequent as and it's not like 1 year we see 3 players break the sack record.
Right.
I mean, that's not going to happen. Now, here's the other thing to look at though, Tony.
Mm-hmm.
Why you came from Penn?
Mm-hmm.
You're wearing 11.
Mm-hmm.
Another guy just came from Penn. He's wearing 11.
Also Werlone, yep.
Why do you want that shadow?
Right.
You already have it.
Yeah, why would you want to be in someone else's shadow of, like that's why I said, make your own name for yourself. Don't worry about, oh, well, I want to be 56, and no, make your own name, man. Don't try to do that for someone else. But that's just me. But real quick, for last topic before we get out of here, like I mentioned, so Jay is from and lives in Arizona, so he is not only a Phoenix Suns fan, he's a Diamondbacks fan, but he's also a Cardinals fan. And the Cardinals kind of had an interesting draft. Even when I did my my kind of pre-draft show, I was like, I really don't know what the Cardinals need. It was like, I feel like the Cardinals kind of need a lot, but I also kind of feel like they did supplement quite a bit. They got Hassan Reddick in free agency and whatnot. They draft Walter Nolan. The two other names that to me really stood out in their draft, that I feel they got absolute steals on, they got Will Johnson in the second round, and then they got Denzel Burke, the other corner out of Ohio State. And I remember watching both of these guys, both at Michigan and Ohio State, both. I feel like those two guys are steals. Now, according to ESPN, the Cardinals had 5 needs that they needed to address, and they addressed 4 of them in the draft. They got the edge rusher. They got Jordan Birch out of Oregon. They got the cornerbacks, the 2 that I mentioned, Will Johnson and Denzel Burke. They got a guard. They got Hayden Connor out of Texas. And then they got Walter Nolan, the defensive tackle, out of Ole Miss. The thing that they says that they need that they didn't necessarily get was a wide receiver. And I'm not going to necessarily disagree, because I do feel like Marvin Harrison Jr. does need some help, because it's hard to be like the number one guy in a spot, because you're going to get double teamed every single time and you're going to get covered. And he did have a pretty good year last year. I felt like he's a little bit under the radar as compared to like Neighbors, Thomas, a lot of the big guys coming out of LSU. But Jay, what would you like if you had to give the Cardinals a letter grade, like A through F? What would you kind of give them on their draft as far as what they've done?
I give them an A+. And I don't say that just to be Cardinals fans. It's been a long time since hearing me give some grades like that to the Cardinals.
True.
But listen, there's a few things here. you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again,
Right.
and and not grow. Obviously, if you keep doing the same thing, you're not growing anywhere because you keep repeating yourself. We
Mhm.
went out and got a first round draft pick wide receiver for, you know what I mean? One of
Mhm.
the best,
Mhm.
supposed to be a generational player.
Mhm.
You know, prestige, pedigrees there, all that.
Mhm.
We got Wilson a year or two before.
Yep.
We got Dort still there.
Mhm.
Um, we couldn't come back out and draft another high wide receiver.
Right. And I'm not saying
After
do it in the first round. I was just saying maybe like fourth or fifth round, like a guy just to kind of add depth that maybe could be like work his way up to like a 2 or 3. Because you've already got your one. Like you don't need another one. Like you kind of need the depth behind that though. Like you need a guy that can be productive, but isn't going to try to overshadow Marvin.
Well, and that's just the thing. There, I'm glad we went defense, and that's why I give them A plus. Because if you look at our games last year, the games that we
Mhm.
lost them on the defensive end, not the offensive end. We have one of the
Yep.
better running games in the league.
Yep.
Once we get up, we should be able to run the ball out. There was too many
Mhm.
times last year we went up 2 scores and lost the game.
Yeah.
So, and then look at it. You got Darian Robinson, who was our first pick last year. He ends up getting injured, doesn't play but 2 games the whole season.
Yeah.
You go out and get Josh Sweat for
Mhm.
on the edge.
Yeah.
You bring back Calais Campbell. You got Bilal Nichols, who played pretty decent last year.
Yeah.
You got Steele, who looked really good as a youngster last year. So
Mhm.
now you go out and get Nolan, who is giving you signs of maybe a Warren Sapp, a young Calais, a Darnell
Mhm.
Dockett, really quick, and get to the quarterback, plug the run as well, and
Mhm.
then you let them sit behind Calais Campbell and learn. Then,
Yeah.
like you mentioned, you got the 2 late picks. One of them on Ohio State, so
Mhm.
you got that championship pedigree there. Will
Mhm.
Johnson coming from Michigan, which should have been a top 3, top 5 pick if he hadn't
Yeah.
got injured at the end of the year. You
Yep.
add that depth at a corner position that we really, really, really needed help in.
Yeah.
So we added enough tools. We got players coming back that were injured. I'm glad we went defense. And
Yeah.
Jonathan Gannon is a defensive-minded coach.
Mhm.
So why not give him all the weapons he needs to be successful on the side of the ball that he's the guru in?
Yeah, most definitely. But no, I agree. They got 2 championship caliber cornerbacks because I mean, Will Johnson won it with Michigan the year before, and Denzel Burke with that last year. But appreciate you coming on, good sir. Appreciate everybody tuning in, checking out Military Broadcast Radio MBR. If you like what you heard, please scan that little QR code down right underneath Jay if you're watching the video screen. That'll help send you to all of MBR's links, a slew and host of other great radio show hosts and whatnot, and other great veterans. And if you liked Jay, check out the All Sports All Plays Network for all the other great sports content that we can offer you. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and we will catch y'all later.
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air.